me Z and T, cause I'm the best in the game. I got the fame, the style that isn't lame.
Hey, is there a cassette tape anywhere?
I sure do. This cassette is the best, I can attest. Best cassette in the east to the west. Yeah, I ain't a rapper. This cassette's dapper. I'm no capper.
Okay, do you mind if I take that off your hands?
Yeah, sure.
Alright, thank you.
No problem, bro.
And this is this week's Closet Classics.
Hello and welcome to Baked Good. Today we're going to be making a Guinness cake. This is a special Guinness cake. It has Guinness beer in the cake. It has a Jameson whiskey ganache with a Bailey's frosting. So come on and join us. See you in a bit. Okay, so first we're going to make the cake. I have here 1 cup of butter, which is 2 sticks, and a cup of Guinness. Smells pretty good. All right, to this we're going to whisk in 2/3 of a cup of cocoa. Now I just use regular Hershey's cocoa. I've tried all the fancy cocos and different things like that, and for some reason I do find the Hershey's works really good. So that's 2/3 of a cup. And we're also going to whisk in 1 3/4 cups of sugar, just regular sugar. Now, as you might be able to tell, this is going to be a very wet cake. It'll be nice and moist, but it'll be delicious. So we just want to whisk it until we don't have a heck of a lot of lumps in there. I guess I should have used a bit of a bigger pan. I can't even tell you how good this smells. All right, that looks pretty good, no lumps. Everything's kind of come together. All right, in our mixer, we are going to beat 2/3 of a cup of sour cream. All the best cakes start with sour cream. Just gives it a nice texture. With 2 eggs. All right. Give that a whirl. While that's mixing, I'm going to put in a tablespoon of vanilla. I have also used all kinds of vanillas, and I use Mexican vanilla. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. There's something about it. It has a bit of a different taste. Bourbon vanillas are awesome too. Oops. And if your vanilla bean falls out, you can pick it out. Let me get that before it crushes in there. The joys of baking. There's always something going on. I think I'll save that for later. Maybe I can make a little more extract. Okay. Back to our noisy mixer. Okay. And as soon as that looks nice and mixed, we're going to mix in our Guinness and chocolate mixture here. I have one of these handy pans where it has a pourer on the side. It's perfect for something of this nature. That looks good. Let's hope not to make a big mess. All right. That looks pretty good. And now to this, we're going to add 2 cups of flour. I think I'll stop the mixer because we don't want it all over the kitchen. I'm sure if many of you do a lot of baking at home, you know how this goes. So I'm going to come around the back here and try and get it in as neatly as possible. And this time I'm going to remember my baking soda. I have here 2½ teaspoons of baking soda. And start it on low, because again, you don't want flour all over your kitchen. All right, we just want to beat that till it's smooth. I'm going to scrape down the sides of the bowl and the beater just to make sure that we have everything incorporated. Get that little extra bit of sour cream off of there. Now again, it is a very wet cake. It'll be extremely moist, but there's really nothing like it when they come out good. We'll give that a little bit of mix. I'm going to turn it up a little more just to make sure it incorporates, maybe get a little air in there. And I have 2 9-inch cake pans. Now, I did use spray. I used the kind of baking spray with the flour in it. Any kind of cake, it just works wonders. It comes right out. Regular cooking spray sometimes doesn't work. But there's many varieties on the market that have the flour already incorporated, and it's wonderful for baking. All right, so let's distribute this evenly between the 2 pans. Baking can be a messy business. Always got to taste your work. All right. Now if you want to be fussy, you can measure it and make sure it's the right amount in each one. I just kind of eyeball it because you can level it afterwards if you want. And we are going to cut each one of these into 2 layers, so it'll all work out in the wash. That does look like a really nice batter. All right. You want to get every bit of all that goodness. All right. And that's the cake. Now we're going to put this in a 350-degree oven for about 30 minutes. Okay, while the cakes are cooking, we're going to make the chocolate ganache for in between the layers. This is a very decadent cake. It's going to have the ganache in between the layers and frosting, but that can't be a bad thing. So what I have here is 8 ounces of dark chocolate. Now I bought 70% dark chocolate because I happen to really like, you know, a bitter dark chocolate, not very sweet. You could use bittersweet, you could use semi-sweet. I just find with all the flavors this is a really good percentage. And I have 2/3 of a cup of heavy cream that I put in the microwave for about a minute, and we're going to pour it over the chocolate. And we're going to stir it about till we can get it nice and melty. Now we did just chop this chocolate up ahead of time, just on a cutting board with the blunt edge of a knife. And it's up to you if you want to buy the real good stuff, or just even the baking chocolate works well, because you have so many other flavors and so many other things going on with this cake that it just really doesn't have to be perfect. There is nothing like the smell of melting chocolate. All right. Might take a minute. It needs to get soft, so while it's sitting, I'm going to put 2 tablespoons of butter in it, just to make it that little more decadent. Showing my Boston. And this is the good stuff. We're going to put 2 teaspoons of Irish whiskey in it. Now, I absolutely prefer Jameson's, but if you have something else on hand, feel free. But this is the good stuff. I think whiskey and chocolate is a great combination. I'd say if you're feeling froggy, to add a little bit more, but we don't want it to be too runny. All right. So we're just going to mix this up until it's real smooth, and don't worry if it doesn't, you can always pop it in the microwave for a little bit. It shouldn't seize because it has all the cream in it and the butter and everything, but always never heat chocolate more than 30 seconds at a time, regardless of what your microwave is, because you really take the risk of seizing it or ruining it. All right, I am going to pop this back in the microwave for a few seconds, so I'll see you in a minute. All right, so I did another 30 seconds in the microwave, and you can already see the difference in the color and it's coming together. You don't want it too runny, but you know, you want it spreadable and no lumps. So I'm just going to stir it till there's no lumps, it's well on its way, and then we're just going to let it set out at room temperature. Okay, now we're going to work on our frosting. So we're going to cream an 8-ounce brick of cream cheese with a 1/2 cup of butter, which is 1 stick, in our mixer. So you can already see this is going to be pretty good. All right, and we just want it mixed until there's no lumps. You don't want to distinguish the butter from the cream cheese. You want it to be incorporated, so you might have to scrape it down a couple times, or if you're using a hand beater or something. I have left this out for about an hour or so because room temperature is always makes it easier. All right, so I'm just going to scrape it down because you know it does get stuck in the beater. We don't want any weird lumps. I think this is going to be a popular cake tomorrow. All right, now we're going to add to this 4 cups of confectioner's sugar. You could, the recipe does call for 4 to 5, but let's see what we come up with for a consistency first. I hope and I think that 4 cups of flour should be fine. So I'm just going to add a little bit at a time so as not to be wearing it. And hopefully it'll incorporate better. It seems like a lot of sugar, frosting, etc., but remember, we are making a 4-layer cake. A little slice of heaven is better than a big slice of diet anything. Alright. It's awful dry with all that sugar, so we're going to get to some of the good part before we add the rest of our sugar. We are going to put in 4 to 6 tablespoons of Bailey's. Now, it might seem like a lot. Again, we have to look for consistency. I know that's hard to do if you've never done it before, but what we're looking for is just something easily spreadable on a cake. We don't want it dripping down the side like icing. We want frosting. So we're going to try 1, 2, We'll do 3 to start. Boy, doesn't that smell good. And then we'll add some more of our sugar. Hopefully that'll make a difference, not strain the mixer. Still looks like it's snowing in here. I'm going to just scrape this down a bit. So you can already see it's pretty thick, but we are going to put more Baileys and a little more sugar in it. Just scrape down the sides, make sure everything gets incorporated. Lumpy frosting is not fun. All right, let's get the rest of our sugar in there and the rest of the Baileys. All right, so that's 4 cups. Let's put another tablespoon of Baileys and see what we have. I think we might need the second bottle for this one. All right. Well, maybe not. This was almost another teaspoon. Let's add a little extra anyways. This is going to make it taste really nice. Alright, I'm going to scrape it down one more time. And it does look a little thick. I'm going to give it a little maybe a minute beating, and we'll see if we need to add maybe 1 more tablespoon of Baileys. Although it does look like if maybe we just whip it a bit, we might get the right consistency. All right, it actually looks really good. I don't think we're going to mess with it. So see our consistency? It's holding itself together. It's not dripping. And remember, we are going to put it on top of chocolate ganache, so we want it to have a little bit of body to it. All right, let's go check on our cakes. Okay, so the cakes came out great in just 30 minutes. I put them in the refrigerator for another 30 minutes just to cool them down, and like I said, it was a kind of wet cake. I know I keep saying that, but some cakes are very moist, so you just have to do those things. So let's get to putting some really nice frosting on these cakes. We're going to split them and make 4 layers. So let's start with a nice plate, so when it's done it'll look good. All right, oh, I suppose before we put on the plate I better split it. It's a matter of thinking what you're doing. So I don't really mark it off. Some people do toothpicks and everything, but I just try to keep my knife always in the center, and go all the way around. You'll see what I mean in a second. A bread knife works best for this. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball it in the center. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is going to be a delicious cake. All right, it is a little bit hard to cut on the... I should have probably taken it off. All right, then we're going to try and follow our line through. And I'm going to flip this over to our plate for our first layer. All right, that looks pretty good. This cake business is messy, but it's worth it. A little bit of the crumbs over. All right, so we're going to take 1/4 of our ganache. Spread it out almost to the end. You don't have to go all the way to the end, because once the other cakes and the weight gets on it, it's going to squish out a bit anyways. So, and it's okay if you pick up crumbs and whatnot. This is the middle of the cake. Nobody's going to notice. They're going to taste it. They'll be too wowed to be worried about what it looks like. We'll wipe that up after. Then we're going to take a little bit of frosting. Where we already have the ganache on it, I'm not going to go overboard. Let's try a half a cup and see how that goes. All right, if you always keep your knife or whatever you're spreading it with just on the frosting, hopefully you won't mix the chocolate and the frosting. Might need a little bit more than that, yep. And see, it's okay if you do. It's one of those things. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's gonna taste wonderful. So let's try a dollop more. That's pretty good. All right, and again, it doesn't have to be perfect. The weight's gonna squish it a bit and make it a little more even anyways. All right, let's add another layer. And you can see the cake is moist and it's cracking a little bit, but the frosting, and when you put it in the refrigerator, will hold it all together. Let's get some more ganache on there. Now I'll be honest and say that I have not tried this cake yet. I found this recipe and I thought, how bad could it be? With chocolate and Bailey's and whiskey and Guinness. And I'm gonna be good and bring this to a party tomorrow instead of leaving it in the house where I'll eat the whole cake. All right, so now we're gonna put a little more frosting. This will definitely be a very rich cake. It'll be one of those cakes you'll need just a little bit of. Sometimes I try to be a perfectionist, but it's not always easy. I am mixing it a bit, but honestly, could it be a bad thing? All right, now we're going to cut our second cake. Again, I'm just going to try and go in the middle. Keep the knife to the middle. All right. I think I'm going to save this one for the top because it's much more even. Be a nice, give it a nice look on the top. All right, here we go with some more ganache. I thought about putting some sprinkles, but I think this cake has enough going for it that it's not going to need to be decorated. Once you tell people what's in it, usually they're pretty thrilled. Oh, need some more frosting. Who doesn't need more frosting? Now, I am on Instagram and Facebook now. It's The Bake Show. Oh, excuse me, it's Baked Good. Baked Good Show. It's under if you're looking for it. It's also on YouTube. And if you're ever wanting any of these recipes or any questions or anything, any instructions to be more exact, you can find me on Instagram or Facebook. All right, so we're going to put the last layer on. And that was right to do that. That does look a little better. We did crumb size down, so hopefully it'll be a little neater. And let's put the last of the ganache on there. I am a person who reads recipe books just like other people read fiction and nonfiction books. I really do like to see different things together and different instructions. I like to find different recipes for the same thing and just see how people do it. I especially love to compare older cookbooks to the newer ways. We really have tried to cut down everything and make it easier and quicker, but sometimes the old-fashioned timely way is best. All right, I'm just going to make this look a little neater because this is going to be our top layer, so this is what people are going to see first. All right, I think I'm going to use a little rubber scraper. We don't want to waste any of this. I want to use it all. Whoever invented the first rubber scraper was a total genius. There is not a handier thing in the kitchen. All right, and let's get the rest of our frosting on there. I won't say that this is the nicest looking cake I've ever made, but it's definitely going to be one of the tastiest. Most Guinness cakes, if you look for Guinness recipes, are either a bundt cake or just a simple one-layer chocolate cake with some cream cheese frosting. I felt this was more interesting because it had the Jamesons and the Baileys and the Guinness. So, just going to take it out to the edge, again trying to make it look a little nicer because this is the first thing people will see. Try and be a little conscious of how it looks. I might mess with it, maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow is St. Patty's Day. So I might throw a few shamrocks, or if I can find a little greenery for the top of it. And although this is a great cake for St. Patrick's, I honest to God think people like this for anything. Especially maybe a gentleman's birthday or something that would really like the flavors. Okay, just give it a little go-to. All right, and there you have it, my version of a Guinness cake.